We're going to talk about how to get an equation from a graph. And we're going to be doing it specifically in the y equals mx plus b form. So it's not just any graph, it's the graph of a line. So how to get the equation of a line in y equals mx plus b. Let's go through some examples. So as a recollection, what we need, actually before we get to the graph, in order to get y equals mx plus b, we need to know the slope, and we need to know the y-intercept. And once we know those two things, we can figure out the equation. So for example, if the slope is 7 and the y-intercept is 3, the equation is 7x plus 3. Let's get to the graph. So this over here is going to be our x-axis, this over here is going to be our y-axis. It's a little faint, but there's a line over there. We're trying to find the equation of this line. And the first thing we're going to have to do is we're going to have to find some, well, first let's find the y-intercept. So the y-intercept is over there. So the y-intercept is -4, which means that our b is -4. The next thing we have to do is we have to find 2 points. So we have to find 2 points that are good points for finding the slope. So that's not a good point because it's not at an intersection, that's not. So that's a good point. And we could use actually the y-intercept as a point, or we technically could have used, that would also be a reasonable point. And that would also be a reasonable point. And it doesn't really matter which point you pick as long as you pick 2 points that are nice. Then what you do, of course, once you've picked your points, is you draw your vertical and horizontal line, and we're going to figure out the rise and the run. So we know that slope is rise over run. So the rise, we went from -4 to -2, so we went up 2, or in case that wasn't obvious. So the rise is 2. The run, we went 1, 2, 3. So the run is 3. And so the b is, which means that the slope is 2/3, which is our m value. And then putting that all together, if we want the equation, what we would say is that the equation of this line is y equals 2/3 x minus 4. And that's the equation of that graph over there. Let's do another one. So I'm going to start off by finding the y-intercept. So, let's just remember, this is our x, this is our y. That's the line over there. So the y-intercept is over here. So we know that the b is going to be 2. So now we just have to figure out the slope. So we're going to have to find some pretty points. There's a pretty point. There's a pretty point. I think that's a pretty point. The nice thing is you can pick any 2, right? It doesn't really matter which ones you pick. So I'm going to pick these 2. Why not? So the slope, the slope is going to be rise over run. Now the rise here, we're going down. So remember, if I was going to draw a dude on this line, where I was going to the right, we're going down the slope. So if we're going down to the right, it's a negative slope. And you could tell if we're going, as we're going to the right, we're actually going 1, 2, 3. So it's, the rise here is -3. The run is 1, 2, 3, 4. And the run is 4. Putting that all together, we get y equals -3/4x plus 2. And that's that. Once again, we're going to find the y-intercept. So the y-intercept is over here at -7. Find some other pretty points. That's a pretty point, that's a pretty point, that's a pretty point, right? And I'll take a look at, I'll use these two for my slope. So the b, which is the y-intercept, is -7. The slope, or the m, is rise over run. And the rise is 1, 2, 3, 4. So the rise is 4, and the run is 1. So again, you can either count grids, or you could say, well, for the rise we went from 1 to 5, so we went up 4. And we went from 2 to 3, so we went up 1. And another way of writing 4 over 1 is 4. Putting that together, we have y equals 4x minus 7. That's the equation of that line. Let's do one more. There's our y-intercept. There's a pretty point. There's a pretty point. I wonder if I missed, but whatever. Those are the pretty points over there. I'm gonna go make my triangle like this. There's another one of those negative slopes. So my b value is -1. The slope, which is m, we've gone from -1 to -6. So we've gone down 5, or 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So it's gone down 5. And we've gone 1, 2. That's our run. And that can't be reduced anymore. Putting it together, y equals -5 over 2x minus 1. And that's the equation of that line. I ran off the bit on the edge of there. b is -1, slope is -5 over 2. That's the equation.